This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joire.
Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joire, and today is Monday, February 5th, 2018. Wow, it's the 5th of February already. Hey, everyone. My guest today is Ashley. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
I miss you. It's been a minute.
I miss you too. Yeah. How do you say your last name? Esqueda? Am I saying it right?
That's perfect.
Right.
That is the most perfect way you could pronounce it.
Awesome. So, Ashley, in case you don't know, writes for CNET, and you were like super popular podcaster for a long time. And now you have a new show on Roadshow, which is CNET's car show. You want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, I'd love to. We just launched it this morning. So it's called The Tesla Track, and it's a monthly show that recaps all of the previous month's Tesla news. And then we do like a little field package. So this inaugural episode, we had a few stories from Tesla from January. And then we also, I got to take a ride in a Model 3 that we were reviewing for a roadshow that Tim Stevens was driving. So I wasn't allowed to drive it, which was a little bit unfortunate, but it was really, really fun to ride in.
I bet. So, you know, in case you guys don't know, there's like a kind of family connection here in a way. Tim was my editor-in-chief at Engadget when I was there in those days. And he's one of the most wonderful tech journalists and car journalists now, obviously, in the universe, in my opinion. And I've actually talked to him about getting him on the show to kind of have a special a car edition. But to some extent, I kind of want to pick your brain about your Model 3 experience. As hopefully the listeners know by now, I've ordered a Model 3. It's hopefully coming. You did too, so we're both in the same boat, but we're not Model S owners, so we have to kind of wait until all the Model S owners get theirs.
Yep.
And so what was your experience? I mean, you said, you weren't a passenger, you didn't experience as a driver, but, you've been in the car, I haven't. So what is your experience as a passenger?
As a passenger, there were a lot of things I really loved about the car. And then there were a lot of things that I was not so pleasantly surprised by and unpleasantly surprised by. So
tell us.
It was a really good reality check as somebody who pre-ordered it, but hadn't really had any experiences inside it.
Right.
The car itself is absolutely gorgeous. The interior is incredibly spacious. We had a social media guy in our back seat who was 6'5", and we had the seats all the way back because we had GoPros mounted, and he still had plenty of legroom. So it is incredibly spacious inside the car, which is amazing. I love that. And then I think overall, like the ride was really great. It accelerates at a nice clip. It's definitely not ludicrous mode, but that's okay. It's still, Porsche levels of it zips right off the line. It's absolutely a Tesla.
I mean, 0 to 60 in the 5-second range is going to blow a lot of people away. They're not used to that. Even in a $50,000 car, that's not achieved commonly. So especially the thing people forget, right? And I know you know this, Ashley, but I think the listeners might not be aware because they might not never been in a Tesla before. And I think Tesla really does that best. But all the electric cars I've even been in, like even a Nissan Leaf, gives you this kind of continuous push of torque, right?
Yeah.
It's like you get torque from 0 RPM and you feel this push in the back up pretty much up to as fast as you need to go on a normal road. And that is a completely different experience. Like I have a Porsche, that's my little baby, and I love it to death, and it's stick shift, and I'm never going to give it up because it's a completely different experience than my Model 3. But at the same time, I tell you this, like not having to switch gears, whether it's, the best automatic or PDK or DSG dual clutch transmission or a manual, there is this thing that you cannot replicate from an electric car in the driving experience, that the moment you stomp on that accelerator pedal, you're getting to where you need to go. Yes. No questions asked, no delays, no downshifting, no hesitation. I just had a Audi A4, a pretty high level trim as a rental car. And I enjoyed it. It was a beautiful, wonderful, comfortable place to be. And in dynamic mode, which is Audi speak for the sport mode, it was great fun to drive. But I got so frustrated that every time I hit the accelerator, there was still this tiny little delay that I don't get with my Porsche because I'm controlling the gear, so I'm generally in the right gear, and that you just don't get an electric car. It's like you want to be in that little hole in the traffic, you are in that little hole in the traffic.
It feels like the future when you accelerate in an electric car.
Uncanny, and to me, that's really the thing that blew me away the most from the first day I drove a production electric car. But the Model S, which is the only car I've driven from Tesla, really, really nails that experience.
Oh yeah,
and,
I mean it cooks.
And of course, the Model 3 is going to bring that too. So think of the Model 3 as kind of as an early Model S in terms of performance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it, like you said, anybody who has never owned an electric vehicle, has only owned maybe like a hybrid or Prius or something like that, like they're going to be very, very happy with the acceleration. So if you're familiar with Treasure Island, that's where we shot.
I saw that bit from the video.
And we went to go back to the office. And for those of you listening who are not familiar with San Francisco, when you leave Treasure Island and get onto the bridge, you have to take the bridge back over into San Francisco proper. And the on-ramp to basically the freeway is very short. It is very, very short, and it's a stop. It's a full stop. It's a stop sign there. So
yeah, it's a very difficult entrance to the freeway because in a normal car you have a very small amount of room to get to up to speed with traffic.
Yes.
And the main traffic on 80 coming into the city is just gone through a tunnel. So they're like full
Speeding
on, doing their happy little, the speed limit there is 50, but they're all doing 70.
They're all doing 65, 70. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And then you're like having to get up to speed there. And I tell you, as the other vehicle that I own is a Volkswagen camper van, having done that in the
that must be
Volkswagen camper
terrifying.
van, the entire 4,000 pounds of weight behind me, it's not terrifying. You just really have to time it. You have to really think about timing. With my Porsche in the right gear or with a Model 3, you just don't have to think about it.
Not at all.
You stomp on the accelerator, you're there, you're in traffic, you're at the right speed.
Yeah.
You just have to find a tiny little hole and you're done.
Tim literally just hit the accelerator and we just went and we were right in with the flow of traffic. No problems, no slowdown by the people behind us. No, it was great. It was really great.
No drama.
So,
yeah.
It was fantastic. So those things I really loved about the car, and I love the design of the car. And I think now the panel gap issue is like much, much better.
I think people put way too much honestly, this happens all the time in early production cars, not even just Tesla. It is true that the Model X had a lot of issues. Yes. And it's true that the Model S early days, from what I've heard, and you can confirm this probably, the Model 3 early days are way better than the Model S and X early days.
I've heard that, yes. From people who own both, I have heard that, who have a Model X and who got that early and then now also got a Model 3 early. They said the build quality is way better. Even though there were some issues, it absolutely was better than previous Model S and X launches. So I feel confident about that. And honestly, I'm glad to wait just a little bit longer for my configuration email, because that little tiny bit of time that I have to wait longer is just more time for them to refine the production process. So I feel good about that. And then I absolutely love the minimalism of the dash. It is shocking to get in and see it, especially when you drive a regular internal combustion engine car. Does
it feel nice though? Because the thing that I find from just looking at photos is, even though I like the sparseness, because I can't smell the car and touch the car, I don't have a point of reference other than people's, reports like Tim's or Alex Roy's, people I trust with their take on automobiles. Does it feel as premium as it doesn't? It's hard for me to get a gauge of how premium it actually is from looking at photos.
To me, it feels appropriate for the price point.
Okay.
I wouldn't say that it feels beyond that. You're definitely not getting the same interior luxury experience in the way of the way the materials feel and the way the car kind of feels while you're sitting in it. you don't get the same feeling that you would in, say, you know, a loaded Model S, or even to that extent, like, you know, an $80,000 Mercedes. Like, that's,
of course, yeah.
You're just getting a completely different experience. You're getting a $35,000 to $50,000 or $60,000 car, but it does feel appropriate for that price range. So I didn't feel like I was underwhelmed or overwhelmed. I was just whelmed.
Yes, right.
That's it. I was just whelmed.
You were happily whelmed. You were middle whelmed.
I was like, okay, this looks right for the price.
This feels like the right thing. See, that's been the issue for me with the Model S that I've been in. I've at the kind of Model 75 price range, I feel that the interior of the Model S is appropriate, but I feel that if I had to buy like a P100,
it's not
D,
enough, right?
Whatever it is, the crazy ludicrous edition, that. At that point, if you go into like a 7 Series or a S-Class or honestly even a Porsche Boxster, you're going to get one hell of better experience in terms of
materials. You're going to get an incredible interior material experience. And
that's kind of why I hope Tesla can catch, I mean, not on the Model 3, but I think on the future cars in that price range, they're going to really need to be like the new Roadster. They're going to have to really crank it up a notch.
Oh, I agree there. The one thing that we didn't get to check out, and that was the thing that we were both kind of bummed about, was we got a review unit that had Alcantara, and they got rid of it. So now the premium upgrade package does not feature Alcantara. It's a different material.
For the headliner?
Yes. And so
that sucks. I love the Alcantara headliner.
I do too. And so, but we didn't get to check out what that was or what it would feel like. So I'm very curious to check out a Model 3. I have a friend who actually is having his delivered in the next like week or so. And I said, I'm dying to come check out the interior of your car. Now that I've seen the Alcantara headliner, I want to see the difference between. So
is the Alcantara headliner dark or light colored?
It was like a beige.
Okay, because that's the one thing that I hate, actually. I mean, I shouldn't say hate, but as somebody who's bought a lot of high-end German cars, I love the dark headliners. It doesn't matter if it's Alcantara or not. Obviously, Alcantara is really nice. But to me, as a driver, I don't want bright colors in my line of sight. And so
also
the
beige
A-pillars,
just feels so pedestrian.
Right, exactly. The beige A-pillar covering is always my big pet peeve. So I'm kind of bummed to know that they're not gonna. It's beige no matter what, even if it's Alcantara. I mean, Alcantara honestly is one of those materials that I believe should be in areas that are never touched by a human. You know what I'm saying? Like, because it gets so grimy and disgusting when touched.
Yeah.
Like, I know that, this is a pipe dream that'll probably never happen. But if one day I can walk into a Porsche dealership and buy a GT3, I will not want the Alcantara, which is the default option, on the steering wheel and gear shifter. Because are you kidding?
Especially out of the steering wheel. Like, why would you ever want that on the steering wheel? It's a terrible idea.
I know. I have a Surface laptop with that Alcantara finish on the palm rest, and I haven't really used it enough for it to get disgusting yet. But I think that was a terrible idea from Microsoft, and it's going to get so nasty. Ugh.
Anybody who uses it on a regular or daily basis, I can't imagine that looking great in a month or two. I mean, I have to clean my MacBook. I have to clean the wrist, wherever I rest my wrists. I have to clean it with a magic eraser like once every 6 months.
Yeah. Have you noticed that if you don't clean it often enough, mine doesn't look disgusting even when it is dirty. But if you try to wipe it with just some kind of bathroom cleaner or something, it
doesn't work.
It leaves dirt still. You still have these weird, it looks like the aluminum is almost like oxidized and pitted.
Yeah,
you're right.
Really
you
gross.
have to use magic eraser. That's the only thing that'll clean it.
Yeah, you have to use a magic eraser. And for anybody hoping to clean their MacBooks, hot tip, use a magic eraser because it is amazing. It does a really good job.
Yeah. Just be aware that it does leave behind a little bit of dust, even if you use a slightly moist magic eraser. So don't let that get in between the keys and stuff, because it becomes a bit of a hassle. Usually
I will use a microfiber cloth that has like a little bit of like that kind of stickiness to it. Like, it's when you touch it, it's got like that sticky feel to it, and that pulls up a lot of the dust, and then I'll go magic eraser, and usually that takes care of it. So one of the things I was really underwhelmed by was actually, it was the user experience. That's that big, beautiful 15-inch screen. It's the only reference point you have in the car. And some of the things that Tim was showing me while he was driving are extremely odd choices for menu items. So one of the things that people really love about, say, the Model S or any other car with sort of that like automatic follow distance and cruise control, things like that, are you're able to change it from a second stalk on the steering wheel. And for whatever reason, Tesla omitted that second stalk. And so you have to go through like a couple of menu items, which really takes your eyes off the road. And Tim had mentioned that, you know, he was like, oh, well, how could I possibly, you know, I probably don't use this a whole lot. So I guess maybe having it buried into a menu. And he's like, and then I realized I actually do use it quite a bit. Because when you go from different types of driving, like city driving to freeway driving to, you know, different times of day and night. He's like, you change it quite a bit. He's like, I didn't realize how much I changed it until it wasn't there. Go through such a hassle until it was such a hassle to do it. Right. And so there was that. And then the cruise control also, like you have to tap the screen every single time you want to change your cruise control speed by 1 mile an hour.
Oh God.
And that also feels extremely clunky. And just looking at the user interface, there's so much. It looks like an iPhone general settings menu, right? So you have this big list of things on the left, and then you tap on it, and then it opens up on the right-hand side. And it's like, that's all well and good, but you're Tesla. Like, there's more you could have done here. And there's so much abuse of like, or lack of, I guess I should say, there's so little use of negative space. Like there's so much negative space in these menus. Make the icons bigger, make them easier to see. Like there are a lot of different ways that these designers could have really done something special here. And it just seems like they said, we just have to get the car done and then we'll improve on it later. And I don't love that. Like of course, I'm glad the one problem I have with the Model 3 is the one thing that can be changed after the car gets delivered to me. Like, I'm very happy about that. I'm glad that's the case. And it is the only thing that is keeping my reservation.
I mean, it seems like Elon's gotten the feedback loud and clear from a few people in his tweets.
Very much.
I think,
very much.
I mean, of course, Elon is not the only person here to deal with this, but you know, he as a visionary leader of a company that, you know, he founded and is basically, you know, kind of, you know, really paying attention to is going to be, you know, probably filtering that downward very rapidly.
Right.
I have a feeling, Ashley, that by the time we get our cars, this will have changed. I'm not saying it's going to be the way exactly we want it, but I think it's going to be interesting. And, you know, Tim pointed out in his review, and I want to bring up Alex Roy's story on the drive as well. If you get a chance to read it, I'll link all of this in the show notes. But he has a really good idea, which is the 2 scroll wheels on the steering wheel could be used for distance and speed adjustments in autopilot mode or in adaptive cruise control mode, depending which you're using. Because I think, you know, honestly, even in my manual transmission car, both of them have a cruise control. And, you know, on the van, of course, it's like driving hundreds of miles, generally in a straight line on the freeway. And, you know, I do adjust the speed. I slow it down and speed it up with the lever, even on a stick shift vehicle, because I'm in gear and I'm on the freeway, and, you know, neither car has adaptive cruise control, but sometimes I don't need to hit the brakes or hit the accelerator I just can adjust the speed a little bit by 1 mile or 5 mile increments, as you suggested. On the camper, there's no increment. It's just basically you go a little faster, you go a little slower. On the Porsche, I can actually increment it by, I think, 5 if I hold it down long and 1 if I just tap it. And I like that feature. I think that feature is kind of an expected standard for cruise control. And if you think about it, autopilot is really cruise control on steroids. So I want that. And I really hope they use the few controls that they have on this vehicle, which is essentially 2 stalks, 2 scroll wheels, and a couple of buttons on the steering wheels. They could remap those easily to different purposes based on a selection made by, you know, there's also the ability to rocker those scroll wheels left and right. So I'm hoping that we can kind of select the thing we want to modify by rocking left and right. And if the number of menu elements are the same, like if there's 5 subscreens, right? One for the wipers, one for autopilot, one for whatever, music and volume and stuff, then we know it's easy to memorize how many clicks to the left, how many clicks to the right you need to go to get back into that menu. And to me, that's the thing about that I love about a lot of modern cars, like that A4 I was just driving. I got used to it very quickly. I only had it for a day as a rental, but I got really quickly used to not having to look at the screen at all and remembering that 3 clicks to the right brought me to this menu. And then one scroll up, at that point gave me whatever feature I wanted. And I can memorize these things. And as long as they don't change, we're good to go, right? And I think right now there's not even that functionality. Like right now, it's kind of like the Macintosh in the early days, like in 1984, where there were no keyboard shortcuts. Everything had to be done by moving the physical mouse cursor to the menu at the top and, rolling the menu down and clicking on a selection. Like that has to go. Like, we can't, it's okay to get rid of physical controls to some extent. I get what Tesla's trying to do. It's all about car sharing in the end, right? I think a lot of people not understanding that. I'm pretty confident, and I want your opinion on this, but I'm pretty confident that Tesla's going to introduce a Model 3 car sharing system that uses the Tesla app. And everybody's going to be able to do it.
Isn't that what Elon had said? Like, that's the goal, right? Like, so at some point in the future, they want to have this
as explicit about it. But I think if you look at the fact that it's very rare on a $50,000 car to have the steering wheel electrically adjustable, right? Most of the time, it's a mechanical lever that allows you to adjust height, angle and reach, but not electric. And it's like you have to go into like 80,000 plus generally to get electric adjustments on that. So to me, that just indicates that, what if you could push one button and the entire car config would change to your liking, right?
Right.
I'm maybe I'm wrong though. Do we know if the entry level Model 3, like the complete stripped base model $35,000 one, has electric seats? Because
I don't know.
Because it has to, right? I mean, that would have to be the requirement, right?
I would imagine so.
Because
if it was intended to be used in that way in the future, it would have to. Yeah. But no one has seen the standard range
so we
Model
don't know.
3, the actual $35,000 Model 3. No one has seen that yet.
It'd be interesting to see how that pans out. But I'm really pretty sure that, I was in Zagreb last week in Croatia. If it's 10 years from now or 5 years in the future, imagine I wanted to drive down to the coast. I could just, and my Model 3 sitting in my driveway, somebody borrows my Model 3 while I'm away, and I borrow somebody else's Model 3 to go to the coast. And I just literally, just by reserving it with the app, when I get in the car, it's my settings, it's my music, it's my nav preferences, it's everything that I like. That is the future. Because the reality is I know some people are going to get a little tweaked out by this because they don't want to lend out their car. And that's fine. You don't have to.
That's me. I don't want to loan out
Neither
my car.
do I, but I'll be honest with you. The more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm thinking I might let that happen with the Model 3, simply because, if it's other Model 3 owners, they're familiar with the car. You know what I'm saying? And there's so much automation in the car that, hopefully when that automation is enabled to the point where you can, avoid obstacles. I don't remember, were you at CES that year that BMW demoed this i3 that would never be able to hit anything?
Yeah, they
you remember that? You got in the car and you tried to park like an idiot where you were going to scrape the side of your car through, like on the concrete post in the garage, and it wouldn't let you. I'm hoping that we get to a point where it's like that. I mean, I'll have to suss it out, but I'll tell you this: I think
I worry the most though about people trashing the interior.
Well, that's the one thing
that's the thing I worry about more than anything.
But here's the thing: notice there's an interior camera in the car.
But it hasn't
been activated, but it's there. It's in the hardware. It's there. Under the rear mirror is a camera. So what if you can? One of the what's it called? One of the ways you have to agree to loaning a car is to be agreed to be recorded. And then, if somebody spills coffee or does something stupid, you have it on record and you can get that remedied. Right. I think that's not a bad compromise. Like, I'll tell you this, I would never lend out my Porsche to anyone except for maybe a close friend that I trust. But or like Tim, if you wanted to take it for a spin, because I've seen him drive and I know I trust him, But I think that the Model 3, I'm probably going to be a little easier. First of all, it's not a manual car, so like anybody can drive it.
Right.
And because there is all this automation and the fact that, it's just sitting on my driver, in my case, because I travel so much, it'll be sitting on my driver a lot. So, I don't know. I think like the future is sharing these things because it doesn't really make sense for us to own cars that much anymore. I mean, as much as I'm a car person and I want to own my cars, I kind of rather spend my money on owning old classic cars and having some sort of appliance car that's still fun and still comfortable and still pleasant, like the Model 3, as my daily driver, And then if it's my daily driver, I'm going to lease it. I'm not going to keep it forever. So it's fine if it gets, rented out, as long as you said, it doesn't get trashed. And that's kind of the big question mark, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, so like on this track, I think Elon has talked about this pretty candidly when he said, because a lot of people were expecting a really cheap Model 3 and they wanted it to be $20,000. That's the car that's the mass market
everyone
car or whatever.
Yeah.
And he had said, the price of the Model 3 didn't really matter once this rideshare service type thing really is able to take off, once they have, which who knows when, something like full self-driving or something close to it might be available to you. But the thing is like, there's no reason why, because the Model 3 can unlock via your app.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you couldn't have a ride sharing app that you participate in. Somebody rents your car, they take their phone, and that's the key. You get a unique,
one-time use key.
Just like you would give somebody, I have a security system at my house. Whenever I have guests come over and take care of our dogs, they get a special security code that I can set for them that expires once I get back.
Yep.
And so, so it would be similar to that. They would walk up to the car, they'd unlock it, they'd be able to drive it. And, he talked about the one time he really talked about this, he was saying, he's like, so much of the day, your car is doing nothing.
Exactly.
Like you go to the office, you probably don't drive your car 80% of your day, maybe less. And so or maybe more than that. So he's like, it makes sense for you to drive your car to work and then send it off to go be its own Uber, basically.
Yep.
And then those payments that you get would go toward the cost of your car.
Right.
And so really you would never actually be paying a monthly payment for the car because it would be earning its keep almost.
Yeah. And I think that brings on like a bunch of assumptions that I think a lot of people are not ready to make yet. And it's a cultural shift that's going to have to happen. But these assumptions as you're leasing your car at that point. I mean, honestly, if I own the car, then the mileage would matter to me, right? Et cetera, et cetera. But in this case, if I'm leasing the car, then, well, okay, we're good, because I don't really care so much about wear and tear at that point. I mean, a little bit, but I don't really care about the miles so much. But I think that a lot of people are not ready for that. In America, people are very attached to owning their car. It's a cultural thing, and that shift needs to happen. But I think that shift is happening for a lot of people. A lot of people, especially younger people today, I think to them, a car is just an appliance. It's a way to get from point A to point
very
B.
Much.
And driving is a chore, and they don't really care. And in that sense... Gen Z is absolutely a generation of kids who are going to grow up and go, I don't want to drive my own car. I have Lyft, I have Uber, I have a self-driving car. Like, why do I want to drive a car? Like, that seems dumb. Yeah. So I think because of that, there's going to be a potential for that. But those of us who are a bit older, I think, I will still want to own it, but I'm not going to own it. It's going to be leased. And, if I do share it out, I'm going to put some restriction on them. I'm going to put restrictions on, they have to be Model 3 owners themselves. Because I want them to be familiar with the car, and because I want to kind of raise.
Unless we were level 5 autonomous self-driving,
but even then,
I would absolutely want them to
wear
be
and tear, right? I mean, the bottom line is yes, the fact that Tesla owners are maybe a little well off today than the average person, and I'm assuming Model 3 owners here. Sure, it doesn't mean that they're not slobs. Right? It doesn't mean that they're not dirty and disgusting. But the reality is, I think it does filter out some stuff. And so I would set that. And I would also set things like, I would probably, if it's possible, like there's definitely going to be no smoking in my car of any kind. Not even 420, not happening. Sorry.
No,
because my spouse is allergic to that.
Right.
So it's not happening. The other thing.
You can't get that stuff out. Like
You can't.
it's impossible to get.
And then the other thing that would
so
happen
hard.
is no food in the car would be one of my rules. I don't know how I would enforce that, but it would be in the agreement. And then, hopefully I could set some terms. And then, I would probably cap the number of miles that the car can be done in a day.
Sure.
Even if I leased it
40 miles most.
Yeah,
or
like 50
whatever.
miles a day or something max.
Yeah.
Because, ultimately, with lease, you have to pay mileage overage and stuff. So maybe the way Tesla leases will work in the future when car sharing is enabled on the Model 3 is that the mileage on borrowed is not going to count towards your lease mileage. It could be that, right? Like they could do that. Think about that. Nobody's done that yet, but it could be an interesting business model because electric cars don't wear and tear like normal cars. I mean, the only thing you're going to have to worry about with mileage here is potentially the brake pads a little bit, even though regen really, really minimizes wear quite a bit. And then the other thing is tire wear, which is from what I've heard on Model S's and Model X's, especially the Model S, the rear wheel drive Model S is a bit high. And because all this torque is sent to the rear wheels and these tires wear out, like it's just going to happen. And, people skimp on tires a lot. It's a terrible thing. Like, honestly, I think if you're a car owner of any kind, never skimp on new tires. Always change your tires often and spend the money. It's totally worth it. It's the most important, probably one of the most important things you can invest in making your car safe. And because, it's just such an important thing. So yes, there's going to be some wear issues there, but it's not going to be wear, like there's no oil changes. There's no, mechanically the engine, the motor, sorry, doesn't wear really that much, right? I mean, a little bit bearings wear, but that's about it. And the bearings are probably designed to last 40 years or something.
I might worry about the battery. Like
the
if
battery.
You're
You're right
all
about
the time.
that.
But like generally speaking, I think like you said, I mean, you don't have the wear and tear issues as soon as you do on a regular.
Yeah, so I could see a situation where Tesla says you can lease a car from us, but any mileage incurred from car sharing does not count towards your final mileage. Right. And they can keep track of that because they have the app. Like they have the whole centralized system. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, look, it's the part of the reason I'm getting a Model 3 is because I think it's a big experiment. And it ticks the boxes for me. It's, I haven't driven it, but I've driven the Model S and I like the way it drives. I like how comfortable it is. I like the way it feels, at least my experience on the Model S. Hopefully it translates to the 3. And so all of this indicates that I wanted to be and also, I'm an early adopter and I want to try this out. And I feel this is going to be a milestone product we're going to look back at the Model 3 like we did at the iPhone as a game changer. And to some extent, we're already doing that with the Model S, but the Model S is not accessible. So I think the Model 3 is really going to be the one we look back at as a game changer. So I want to be a part of that, but I'm also willing to be a part of the experiment. And that means I'm willing to try different things. I'm willing to potentially loan my car out. I'm willing to potentially look at another way of owning my car or leasing my car. And that's why I'm doing it, folks. It's like not etched in stone. And ultimately, if I want to drive a good old analog car, I have 2 of them to deal with. It's perfectly great. I'm very lucky to have these options. So that's kind of where I'm at with all that.
Yeah. I think my biggest question about all of that, like if you get past all of that and you're super down for it, I think the biggest question is how will insurance companies insure your car and would they be willing to?
Well, I think there's a very simple solution to this. Tesla bundles the insurance in.
Yeah,
done.
They would have to. I mean, it's just they would just absolutely.
I think there's no reason they can't. In the same way as a lot of car companies have their own financing services.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you draw the line at this point? Like, why not?
True.
I mean,
that's a good point.
So done. I mean, look, I'm going to continue with my insurance. I'm happy with them, but look, we're early adopters. I'm saying a lot of these things are going to happen in 5 years, like 5 years from now, when we're going to have this conversation, we're going to look back at this podcast and say like, yeah, look, this is what we were wrong about. And this is what we were right about. And I bet you half of it will be right and half of it will be wrong. And it'll be really interesting to see how it pans out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, look, I'm glad that your experience mirrors what I've heard from it. That's the one thing that's made me very excited about the Model 3 is now that the reviews are rolling out, everybody seems to be on the same page, whether they're tech journalists or car journalists. They seem to all kind of be on the same page of like, the user experience needs some love. Thankfully, it's just software, so it can be fixed. The car itself is great. And, of course, a lot of people are caveating the whole, like, this is the, $56,000 car, not the $35,000 car. But, you get the government discounts. I'm really hoping we still manage to get our discounts, you and I, because we're California people.
I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I hope so, because that's kind of obviously.
Because it's 2 quarters after they hit that 200,000 mark.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that Tesla is smart enough to time whatever 200,000th car delivery towards the beginning of toward the end of a quarter, toward the beginning of a quarter, and then that way, let's say it's Q3, the beginning of Q3, so they deliver that 200,000th car on July 1st.
Yeah.
Then that would mean not only does everybody in that quarter get the rebate, the tax credit, or the tax liability credit, then the 2 quarters following that. So it's 3 full quarters after they hit that 200,000 mark, but they just can't deliver their 200,000th car on June 30th. Like, that would be bad. Because then honestly,
I don't think they will at this rate. So
yeah, no, God, no. I don't. Yeah, I don't think they will either.
So I think we're safe.
I think we're fine.
I'm just excited. I'm looking forward to it.
Miriam, when do you think you're going to get your configuration email? Because I have some thoughts on this. And so right now, I'm looking at it right now. My Model 3 reservation says my delivery estimator is
let me have a look at mine.
December through February. So February 2018 is and I like to think the delivery estimator is the email delivery estimator. Like, I like to think it's configuration email.
Yeah. Let me have a look at mine.
I still think that I have a chance to configure my car by the end of this month. And I do believe that by the end of this month, I will have had my configuration email delivered into my inbox.
I think you're a little optimistic.
Do you think so?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Where is that info? I'm looking for mine. So next steps.
I have some math to back that up. Can I
no, go for it. I want to hear it.
Can I theorize this? Okay.
Yeah.
So before the event on March 31st, 2016, Elon said there were about 110 to 120,000 reservations that had been made, right?
Yeah.
So of those, let's say, how many employees does Tesla and SpaceX have? 10,000 people? It's not a lot.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
It's not a lot. So let's just say 10,000. And of those, let's say 20% of them order a Model 3. It's only a couple thousand cars. So they get those out of the way. And then now you have existing owners of Teslas, which as of this point is, somewhere in the neighborhood of 160,000 people?
Yeah.
And what percentage of those are getting, let's say, what percentage of those would you say pre-ordered a Model 3 that want a second Tesla in their home and maybe already own a Model X,
I don't
a Model
know,
S,
a quarter,
or both?
I would say.
Let's just say 20% again. Let's just slightly lowball. Let's say 20% of 150,000. So you're looking at another, 3,000 cars.
Yeah.
So another 3,000 cars. So that's 5,000 cars. And then you're looking at non-owners. So I think we're starting to get to the end, because if you see the VIN numbers, we're starting to see some good high VIN numbers around the 5,000 mark. So I think we're finally getting to the end of existing owners who live in the United States.
Right.
So and also don't forget that some of those existing owners are opting for either the standard range or dual motors.
Right. You're right.
So if we do that math, and then we say, okay, so that's 5,000 people removed. So that probably leaves 100,000 people with reservations that happened the first day who still want cars delivered. Now I'd say probably, I'm going to say 50% of those people want a standard range $35,000 Model 3.
Right.
They're not going to pay for the
50,
premium
you think
model.
50%?
Half. Yes, absolutely.
I actually think a lot of us are just going to go for it because we're early adopters. That's why we reserved.
Here's the thing, though. Remember with the Model 3 that it is the first mass market car that Tesla's making.
True.
So a lot of people pre-ordered this car on the idea that it is a $35,000 Tesla.
Right.
They don't have the money to afford a $60,000 Model 3. So like I have a lot of friends who are like,
I have the money to afford a $60,000
yeah, exactly,
Tesla, to be honest
right?
with you.
I'm like a little bit scared about that car payment. So I've been saving like for the last like 8 months. I'm like socking away every dollar that I have extra.
Nice.
Just like, oh, please. So let's say 50,000 of those people. Okay. So we have 50,000 people left, right? Who might order the first production model and are not going to wait for either the standard or the dual motor.
Right.
So of those 50,000 people who pre-ordered on day one, like all of those factors, how many of them live in California? Who or on the West Coast.
Yeah.
And who have not either want to, like I said, I think we're in a pretty tight group of people. Like I really believe
right,
we'll get it
so
soon.
By the way, mine says January to March 2018 for first production.
January
That's
to March.
my estimate.
Okay. Mine says December to February 2018.
So you're a little ahead of me.
Just a little bit.
So when you get yours, let us know.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, because mine is probably going to be a month after you.
We still haven't seen on the Tesla subreddit. Like, I don't think I've seen any non-owners get their emails yet.
No, non-owners haven't.
So that'll be a big news story once they do. And I'm hoping that will be one of the stories that I report on Tesla Track.
Do you think the reservation numbers have a good indication of where you are in the queue? No. It's random, right?
No.
Yeah. That makes sense. So they would have thought of that.
Yeah.
People would be scrapping in the streets and fighting for them.
I know. But yeah, I really think that. So if we say like 50,000 people in the US and abroad who ordered, like, and who are maybe not getting, who want to, first production model, whatever, West Coast, like I can't imagine it's more than 15,000 people who are like West Coast, California, like high, first production model, like everything, like loaded out. I think we're in a very small group of people.
I wonder if they're going to prioritize people.
20,000 at most.
Yeah, I wonder if they're going to prioritize people that are closer to Fremont.
I think it's just California because it's easier to get the car back to Fremont.
Right. There is a delivery center in LA somewhere, right? Well, probably in
Marina Del Rey.
Oh, Marina Del Rey.
Marina Del Rey. It's very close to Hawthorne, yeah.
Marina Del Rey.
Apparently, it's very nice, and apparently you get like a ridiculous delivery experience there. Like they treat you like a freaking rock star.
I hope they do that in Fremont.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Because I'll be in Fremont when I get mine for sure.
Oh, it's so exciting. I thought about flying up there and picking mine up at Fremont, but then I was like, I don't want to put all those miles on it, like right out of the gate.
Come on, you want to drive down the PCH with it. Come on.
I know, I do. No,
well,
I definitely
the PCH
do.
is full of landslides. I don't think it's open half of it.
I was going to say, I have to wait for them to clean up PCH because I will get about halfway and then
I have bad news for you. I don't think the PCH is ever going to be cleaned up because of global climate change. And it's just going to keep getting destroyed by more and more mudslides and we'll never be able to drive it. I hate to say that, but it's true.
And then all I have is the 5. And who wants to drive that? It's just a bunch of bugs.
No way.
A bunch of bugs.
I'm not taking the 5 ever with no. Actually, I probably will because of autopilot and because if I need to get to LA quickly, it's definitely nice.
It.
Listen, I want to switch gears really quick because we have another 15, 20 minutes or so to chat. And want to talk about the news of the day, which I know we're like, look, we're both total, like we could nerd out for 2 hours on the Model 3.
Sure.
But the Intel Vaunt smart glasses that were not announced, but kind of like revealed through this, I guess The Verge had an exclusive. I don't know if they seeded that to all the media outlets or not, but certainly The Verge has a really cool story. Dieter wrote that, Dieter Bohn.
Dieter did a nice job.
Yeah, and the video is really interesting. What is your take on that?
Okay, so I talked about this on Twit yesterday too a little bit. So my glasses are...
You and I are glasses people, just so in case listeners don't know. Ashley and I wear glasses and we have an incredible selection of really awesome looking glasses. I'd like to say that Ashley's glasses are like, wow.
I am known for my glasses. My business card doesn't have a picture of me on them. It literally is a picture of my glasses.
So there you go.
That's it. It is my actual and genuine calling card.
Yeah, we know glasses and we're picky glass bitches.
Yeah, very much. And so for me, like these look still dorky. Like they're much less dorky than anything we've seen previously. And I am super happy about that.
Too. Yeah.
I'm really happy about that. And I'm terribly fascinated by the technology of it, which is a projection that you can, if you're looking downwards, your pupils point downwards, you're able to see it. But if you just look up in your regular line of sight, it disappears.
I know.
That's amazing.
I know.
That's amazing. Like
It's
I am
insane.
really into that.
Yeah.
That's the technology that I'm into. And that's the stuff that makes me believe AR will be the mainstream adopted technology over virtual reality, because virtual reality, you're closing yourself off to people. And in augmented reality, it's there with you.
I absolutely hate VR because of that. I don't hate VR. I think it's great for gaming and stuff. I also, there's two problems with VR.
It's a very specific experience-based
closes you
technology.
off, right? Like as you said. But it also, the problem with VR is right now it's not really mobile. To get the really good quality VR, you're tethered to some computer.
Computer
it's
and a
nightmare.
backpack or some
I've always said that VR is a subset of AR. VR is you take a AR device in the future. Ideally, you'll just put a face mask, like one of those like sleeping masks that covers your eyes when you want to sleep on a plane. It'll just be wearing your glasses, and you'll put one of those on, and you'll be suddenly playing a VR game because your AR glasses will be covered up. But it'll be your AR glasses playing the game. That's the future. Right. That's where it's going, folks. So I'm excited about the technology. I agree with you. They look a little dorky, but I'm amazed at how light they are and how the electronics are only contained in the two arms, and that they're tiny electronics, and that they're flexible, and that the battery life supposedly is they're talking about 18 hours. And I'm also excited how simple it is. I want to preface and say that Itai Fonchak, who is one of the main people on that team, is somebody I work with at Pebble. He was in charge of the design of the user experience, the UI for the Pebble Time. So basically the second generation Pebble smartwatch UI. He worked with me at Pebble. He's a good friend. I knew he was at Intel working on something new. I had no idea it was smart glasses. So kudos to him and his team. Also, Kian Wong, Kian on that team worked at Pebble as one of the main software folks there, and that team is bunch of super smart, super awesome people. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited
very
about.
Very thoughtful too in that interview on that Dieter did with him with Vonchak. It's like really good. Yeah.
So it is. I was right. It is Kian Wong. For some reason, I thought I was mispronouncing it. But Kian and Itai work with me at Pebble, and we got along superbly. And I'm super excited about what they're doing in Intel. And I knew Intel was up to something because they'd been so quiet about wearables for so long. All I knew is that Itai was working on some new wearables, and now we know what it is. And wow. That's just super exciting to me. I'm just, the really technology is amazing. I love how simple it is. I love that it's only red. I love that it's on the bottom of your field of view only when you look down, and it's always in focus no matter what your prescription is. I love that it's just notification like Pebble was, because honestly, the only reason I wear a smartwatch, well, there's two reasons. The most obvious one is because they tell the time. And this is my biggest beef with Apple Watch, the fact that it's not on all the time, showing the time all the time. A watch should be showing the time when you put it down on your desk and you glance at it. And the Apple Watch doesn't do that. Now, I know they're trying to save the OLED from burn-in and all that. I get all this, but I don't like the Apple Watch because of that. And I don't like the Apple Watch because it's square, and I don't like square watches, although there've been some gorgeous square watches made by, the biggest luxurious watch brands over the years. I just feel like round is my thing, and that's why I wear right now, I'm very meh Huawei Watch 2 with a custom leather band, because I don't like the fact that it looks too sporty with the built-in band. But yeah, I wear it because it's an OLED display that tells the time always. And I know from my first few OLED smartwatches that the display will wear out with always on, and which is an Android Wear feature, because it just does. And I don't care, because for me, it's a device that I got as a review unit. But I understand why Apple turns off the display. But to me, telling the time always matters. And then the second thing, and this is where those glasses come in, the second thing that I use my watch for is notifications. The ability to just glance down on my watch when I'm in the middle of dinner and I don't want to be interrupted, but at the same time, something important might happen. I can glance down and go, oh, this is not important. Or, oh, this is critical. I need to take care of it. I'm really sorry. Can you excuse me for a second? This is why I want those glasses. And honestly, they pair with your phone over Bluetooth. That's exactly what Pebble did so well. And I think we need more of that. So I am on board, and I wear glasses and I like fashionable glasses. So I hope it comes in all shapes and sizes,
Yeah, no, I agree. And so I am, it is very difficult to get me to wear anything on my wrists. I hate it.
You'll chew it off like a dog chews off their collar.
I do. I will chew my wrist off. I hate wearing things on my wrists. They drive me crazy. It just feels like it's just dangling there, just making me crazy all day. And so no one has been able to get me to buy a smartwatch yet. And so this seems like better for me because, I wear glasses already. Now, the key for me here is I will only accept this as a workable mass market technology when I can buy the tiny little device that makes the projection and I can stick it on the inside of my glasses and it works. That's what I want.
I think that's ultimately what they need to do. And, I could go on, I could write a book about Pebble, but when I was at Pebble, one of the things we were experimenting with is potentially partnerships with companies like Nixon and all the fashion watch companies that are affordable like Swatch and Guess and Diesel, because ultimately licensing the technology is the way to go. Like if glasses makers made all their prescription glasses with a tiny little cavity that's empty, right?
Exactly.
On both
or just
sides,
even
and
a
then
couple of models,
you just pop,
like in their line,
right? Exactly, and you just pop the electronics in there, or either they do it at the factory so that it's done properly.
Right.
But the point is that it's the same model as without, and you could get the choice. That is, I think, where we need to go with this stuff for sure.
Yeah. And I think even just making that space, like one of the things I really love about, I have these Turtle Beach headphones.
Yeah,
and I love them because the ear cups, the pads, you can remove them and there's a notch or like a dial on the inside, and you basically turn it and it makes an indent in the pad for your glasses.
Oh my God, seriously? That's so cool.
Yes, it is. Okay, it is such a simple thing, and yet somehow it is the most brilliant, like small detail item on a pair of headphones I've ever seen in my life. And it makes wearing your glasses with a pair of big, like gaming headphones
so much better.
A completely different experience. I mean, it is so much better. Your glasses, the arms of your glasses are not being shoved against your temples, and you can actually play for longer periods of time. And it's such a small detail. But again, like you said, with Vaunt, like the same type of technology, if we have these ideas in glasses design, if this is a thing that really cascades over to the mainstream, you're going to be able to sit there and say, okay, well, I'm a glasses manufacturer. I'm Luxottica. I own, 80% of the glasses market or whatever. And I'm going to make these Ray-Bans very specifically have like you said, a notch. So you can buy them in black, you can buy them in silver, or you can buy them with this tech upgrade notch, like so that you can put your shit in there. Like you can put your Vaunt technology in there. Like that is exactly right.
Yeah.
And I think that's the future. And I think that's what we have to do. It has to be able to incorporate into people's daily lives. And you should be able to just buy a pair of non-prescription glasses to wear these, to use it. Like, yes, absolutely. People wear non-prescription glasses all the time for fashion purposes. Totally. And so why not just continue this with technology? It totally makes sense. Although I will say it totally reminds me of Futurama, where they do the iPhone, where it's literally a phone in your eye. Like I was like, oh my God, this is Futurama. Futurama predicted this. Futurama did it.
For sure. No, I think to me, the reason I want the notch is because ultimately, I think at early days, the technology is going to be pretty expensive. If you can swap it from glass to glass, to from pair of glasses to pair of glasses, I think would be much more affordable. Like the reality is I wear 3 different pairs of glasses most of the time. I have my reading glasses when I read, and when I sit at the computer for long periods of time. I wear a normal pair of glasses when I'm driving, walking around and doing my everyday life. I can still read with them but they're not optimized for being in front of the computer or in front of a phone for a long time. And then I have a pair of prescription sunglasses, which are basically the same as my normal glass, not the reading ones, the normal ones.
That's me.
And I use those for driving, and I use those basically
whenever I'm outside.
Yeah, I mean,
like
for
my
me,
vampire sunglasses that are massive and block out the sun.
For me, they're mostly they live in my cars, and I just like change them from car to car. But it'd be nice to I think in the early days it's going to be really expensive to have 3 sets of these electronics, right? So I think the swappable thing is going to be critical, and I don't know how they can pull it off, but hopefully it's something that users can do. Also, that way it's DIYers
enough to where I feel like it's possible.
Yeah, and DIYers could make their own glasses. Like if the manufacturer
in 5 to 10 years, it feels like
we
could see this from major glasses brands.
3D print your own glasses, or if you have an old pair, have the retrofit them by bring them to a shop, or even doing it at home. Of machining out the little cavity.
Sure.
I mean, whatever. I mean, it's going to be a whole industry around customizing these things. It's going to be freaking awesome because ultimately this is what really people want. They want their glasses are super personal, and I like that Itai said that in the interview. And people want to be able to customize. So I'm super stoked about this tech. If I'll link to the Verge story because I think it's the best one out there since pretty sure they got that exclusive, or at least the first look at it. And this is not going to be commercialized for a while, so it's going to take a while to go out there, but I honestly cannot wait because then I can stop wearing a smartwatch really, because that's really all I need. The time displayed and the notifications when they're critical. That's it.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's all it needs to be. Just simplify it. And really, again, with Gen Z, this is going to be a generation of kids who, much like I said this on Twitter yesterday, much like Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, so many of us, like Oregon Trail generation, Gen X, before that, have had to learn the connected age, right? Like this is a thing that we did not grow up with. These kids literally grow up, they were born into it. And this is what they are used to. And so they will find ways to simplify it. They will find ways to remove themselves from it, much like millennials. So Gen X is notorious for being proud of working these 60-hour work weeks and stuff like that in the late 90s. And then we had this tide change when millennials entered the workplace, and they said, well, whoa, no, I don't live to work. I work to live.
Exactly.
And they have fundamentally changed the way that we do business in a lot of ways in this country, for better or for worse. I mean, whether you think that's a good thing or a bad thing. And also the gig economy kind of grew out of this, the side hustle, all this stuff is sort of very much has grown out of, the way millennials think and also the actual economy, the way that it has gone. So after the crash in 2008, that was a time where a lot of millennials were just getting into the workplace. And so the gig economy kind of sprouted up. It was a way for people to make extra cash when they couldn't find a job and stuff like that. So I think Gen Z is going to have a very interesting take on how technology should interact with you in your everyday life and how intrusive it needs to be and how non-intrusive it could be. And
Indeed,
I'm very curious to see how that evolves over the next 20 years.
Yeah, me too. I mean, look, I think this is great. This is for me a bit of a Pebble moment, and it's kind of ironic that Itai and Kian and some of that team was at a Pebble, because it's Pebble showed what a smartwatch could do, and that it was a real thing, and it was a fashionable thing, and it was customizable, and it was cool. And Apple, of course, because Apple has unlimited resources, basically did it almost right. As I said, with the caveat that it doesn't always tell the time and it's square right now. Come on, Apple, you can do better than that. But overall, it's clearly a success story, the Apple Watch, right? I mean, it is by far the number one smart wearable, right? So obviously, we're at the very beginning here with this product. And I think this is the beginning in a good way, not the beginning in a Google Glass way, Yeah,
it's very exciting. I laughed so hard this morning. I saw Scoble put up a post and he's like, is anybody interested in this? I would buy it. And I'm like, of course you would. You bought Google Glass. Like, everyone knows you're going to buy it. Like, you don't even have to say that.
I've stopped following Scoble after all the crazy stories. I just can't. I just can't deal. I'm sorry. I like Robert, but like, so, moving on.
I have, weird. So many people in this last year, I've been like, I like XYZ, but ugh.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm saying. So just quickly filling up some news stories. I know we've got about 5-10 minutes to wrap things up, but I wanted to touch on a few things. The OnePlus just launched for Valentine's special a Lava Red OnePlus 5T for $599. It's going to be available starting tomorrow, I believe. Check out the unboxing video in the show notes that I did. I got one under embargo. In case you haven't seen the Lava Red OnePlus 5T, it is super hot. Like, it is one of those. My video does not give it justice in terms of the shade of red that it has. It's super bright, beautiful red. I do have a tweet with a photo of the phone from CES. If you go on my Twitter feed and rewind a few tweets, like probably 100 tweets back, you will find it there. And that actually gives you a good idea what the color looks like, because my video doesn't capture the beautiful brightness of this. It's called Lava Red for a reason. Very hot. I don't know if you like colored phones, but this is a nice one.
I do. I'm so tired of black slabs,
Yeah, for sure.
Let's add a little color. Phones should be fun.
Yeah, and this is one.
Where's my Aqua phone?
I know.
Where's one that's like a beautiful Tiffany blue? Like, where's that phone? I want that.
Yeah, I love how in Korea and Japan and China, colored phones are kind of the norm. Like, they have blues and they have purples and pinks.
Well, they're so stylish. They're much more stylish.
Yeah, I think we need that, and I think it's nice to see OnePlus doing it. It's a little harder when you're doing an aluminum phone. Like, if you're doing a glass phone, like a glass sandwich, like Samsung has on the Galaxies and LG on the recent phones. It's easier to produce colored glass. But anodizing an entire back panel like they did on the OnePlus 5T there is a lot more work. So, when I saw that phone, I was like, wouldn't it be great? Ugh. And then they brought it to us for Valentine's. So it's $100 more. It's a bit more, I guess. I think it's $100 more than the regular.
You know what though? Like, I consider that to be, if it is a little bit more, I would consider that to be very similar to paying to have, like, remember when the iPhone 5, they had a colorware, somebody was anodizing the metal and they could change the color. Yeah. And then they would switch out. I had a hot pink iPhone 5.
Nice.
And I loved it. It was awesome.
Great.
Like, it matched my glasses. Like, I dug it.
Yeah, and colorware does some really cool stuff. It's kind of pricey though, but it is really hot. So if you always have colorware if you want to customize, for sure.
Sorry about my dogs. They just, I don't know what the hell they're barking at.
Don't worry. They're very faint right now. It's totally fine.
Okay, good.
In other news, there is some good stuff around Huawei rumors. Well, they're not rumors, because we've seen actually some announcement about a triple camera lens in the back of the P20. And it's not, I don't think it's a rumor or a leak, but this is really interesting because they're promising hybrid 5x zoom. And these are 3 Leica lenses in the back. So I think what they have here is the setup they have on the P10 and the Mate 10, which is, high quality, low light performing OIS color camera. There's a monochrome, higher resolution, non-OIS camera. And then I guess what they're adding to that is a telephoto lens like the iPhone and the Note 8 to add more zoom, because right now they can do hybrid zoom up to 2 times by combining the 16 megapixel, I believe it is, or 12 or whatever it is. I think it might be 12 main camera color one with the 20 megapixel monochrome. But now they're adding a color telephoto. So it's basically like combining what they've been doing so far with what the iPhone and the Note 8 are doing. This doesn't look like a rumor. This looks real. So it's interesting. And then there's also dual cameras in the front of that phone, which, and Huawei's been hinting at this for a while now at the press conference at CES, in various meetings with me in the last few months, that they're going to do some sort of Face ID competitor. And to me, seeing those two cameras in the front of the phones tells me that
that's it.
There might be the first Android phone that actually does Face ID, where Face ID is actually used for authentication as a primary means of authentication. In addition to a fingerprint reader, you get the choice this time, and that you will be.
See, would love that on the iPhone 10.
And that you'll be able to use it for Google Pay. It used to be called Android Pay, but because that's the thing. Like the OnePlus 5T we just talked about, and other phones like the I think the Honor 7X or the View 10 just got that feature from Huawei. You can unlock with your face, but it's not like you can't use it for like as a primary mean of authentication, like for payment and stuff. Whereas as we know, Face ID on the iPhone you can use for payment. So I'm waiting for maybe the P20 will be the first Android phone to do that right. And you're right, having a choice would be nice. Although to be honest with you, my iPhone 10
I just
now,
want a choice, Miriam. Is that too hard to ask?
No,
I think that'll actually be on the next version of the iPhone 10.
Apple does. Apple will never bring back the fingerprint. This is done. This is done. And
they
honestly,
need to make it so that I can unlock it while I'm laying down.
Yeah.
Like in my bed. I can't even unlock my phone while I'm laying down. I have to I have to sit there and I have to
look at it.
Type in my passcode. And I can't do it while I'm laying on my side or just hanging out on my couch. It's so frustrating. I can't unlock it while I'm driving. If I get an important text message, I can't, it's on a mount in my car. I can't lean over and have it scan my face.
I honestly haven't found it to be
hit Touch ID.
I haven't found it to be a problem with Face ID on my iPhone 10. And then again, it's not my primary phone, so I don't use it every day. My primary phone is a Pixel 2 XL.
It's good. It's really, really good. It's really impressive. It does a good job. Listen, we talked about, I have 1 million pairs of glasses. It has recognized me
it
in
works,
all of them,
right?
including my sunglasses, which is great.
Good.
But on that same note, there are so many use cases where it just doesn't work. I mean, it just, if I'm laying on my side, if I just want to relax on the couch, I have to sit up and look at and hold the phone right in front of me and do the thing. It's man, it's so frustrating.
Yeah, I honestly think it's been okay, but I don't think Apple will bring it back. It's not going to happen. What we're going to see is the next.
They'll just get better.
We're going to see the iMacs and the iPads and the MacBooks inherit that technology, which I think is actually going to be pretty awesome. But they're not going back. They're not going back. But with the Android world, we can have the best of both. And I think Huawei will do that. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Samsung has some technology, because so far their retinal scan thing was crap. It didn't work. And I turned it off because it just doesn't work. I need this to be bulletproof. Apple pretty much, Face ID is pretty much bulletproof for me. So, I'm hoping Huawei can pull it off. That's all I'm saying. So we'll find out. We'll find out MWC, and then there's a big, event in Paris, I think on the end of March sometime. So I'm excited. Huawei does some cool stuff, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table. In other news, Nokia, is rumors of a Nokia 7 Plus. I'm only bringing that up simply because I feel like, I haven't received too many Nokia review units this year, mostly because they're not focused on the US market. But I have a 3310, their retro phone. I have one of those, and it's kind of fun. But I'm looking forward to getting one of the Android phones at some point. And this 7 Plus is a rumor, it's a leak, but it would be their first widescreen 18:9 aspect ratio Android phone. And so far, every review of their existing new line of Android phone, there's a Nokia 6 and Nokia 8, Nokia 7, whatever, has been, really well received by reviewers, even though, as I said, I don't have any. Are you excited about the coming back of Nokia?
I really love their design aesthetic.
Yeah.
I think that they know how to make really interesting, beautiful phones. I loved how they designed a lot of their Windows phones.
Oh, yeah. They were gorgeous, weren't they? Yeah.
Really nice. Just really well designed. They felt so sturdy. I really love their hardware design. So I am, in a way. And I think it is a good thing that they are not tethered to Windows Phone anymore. Or anybody's tethered to Windows Phone anymore. But I don't know. It's it's hard to be excited about it just because I am scared for them. Do you know what I mean? In the way of I don't know how many people are gonna buy
Well,
these.
so they're, I didn't want to get into this, but they've sold something like 4.2 million phones in their first year. They're number one market share. It's just pretty impressive.
Yeah, they're doing well.
I mean, it's not in the US. Like that's the problem, right? Like people, it's Nokia, the new Nokia, HMD Global is the parent company in Finland, is not on people's radar in this country, but they are relevant to the rest of the world. And as you said, the reason they are, it's not because of Android. Everybody can make an Android phone, as we know. It's because they're doing beautiful hardware again, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, I think that's the key because, like you said, anybody can make an Android phone, but to make it really special is very rare. And we're starting to kind of see these interesting, different design concepts, these ideas from companies like Essential and OnePlus, and like they're just different. Like they're a little bit different. And even Samsung to a certain extent. Like I really enjoy the way that the Galaxy S8 looks. Like I think it's a great unique design.
I think that they finally nailed some kind of unique brand for themselves.
Yes.
But it's still not saving them because Apple has surpassed them as number one now. Can you believe that? It's insane.
I couldn't believe that.
It's only for quarter four, but like that is shocking. I mean, it's funny to me though, because all these rumors of the iPhone 10 not selling well or whatever, come on. They just had their best quarter ever. It's like, folks, it's a crazy world.
People have to realize the phone is $1,000, right?
And people are buying it left, right, and center.
They don't need to sell as many as they
their profit
need to sell
margins are
iPhone
massive.
8s.
Exactly.
Because they sell less of them. It's less work, less production for them, and they make more money.
Yep. No, it's amazing. It's amazing. Wow. Yeah, we live in a crazy world. I'm pretty stoked about Mobile Congress. There's some good stuff coming. Galaxy S9. We talked about this last week. I don't want to get into great details, but obviously, more leaks, more rumors. This Nokia rumor of the 7 Plus and the rumors of, well, it's not rumors, the triple camera on this P20, which clearly looks like it's going to be called P20 now. We were kind of like not sure about that, but
I think camera obsessed smartphone user, like this makes me very happy.
This is cool, right? I mean, yeah,
put 8 lenses on there. I don't care.
Have you used any of the Huawei phones? They're really great.
Yeah, they take great pictures.
Yeah, I like them a lot. So listen, we should wrap it up. Do you want to? You kind of talked about the new show. Do you want us to tell people where they can find you on various social media and places and stuff?
Yeah, you can. I'm mostly on Twitter. So, as much as I hate the fact that I am on Twitter and I'm supporting, there's some questionable.
Oh, there's a lot of issues there. I know.
Oh, it's the social media site that I love to hate. And I hate to love. So, I'm just at Ashley Esqueda there, and I am pretty much on all the time. So, and feel free to check out the Tesla track. That's over on theroadshow.com. You can see that. And I'll be, of course, tweeting it out and all that stuff. I'm Ms. Ashley Esqueda on Instagram, which is a lot of fun. I like Instagram.
Yeah, I like your Instagram. I'm a big fan too. It's changing as well, but I think it's still pretty solid. And you also write for CNET, right?
Much less depressing. I just host. So usually I'm just video. Like I write my own scripts and everything, but I host mostly. So usually you'll see me on video, and then I might every now and again write something up. Like I did an article on the Sondors EV. I got to drive that around last year, a little late last year, which was really fun.
Cool.
And really interesting to check out. So yeah, like sometimes I'll do write-ups like that, and then mostly it's video. So I just love hosting.
Yeah, no, we love you on video. You know where to find me. I'm at TNKGRL Tankgirl on Twitter. It's like the comic book character without the vowels. That's how you'll remember if you forget. That's the same handle on Instagram. Follow me there as well. And of course, my YouTube channel, Miriam Jouar. It's youtube.com/Miriam Jouar. Spell out my name with the Miriam with a Y. Most of the videos on my YouTube are really just to support the podcast. So like, the OnePlus 5T Lava Red. I did an unboxing yesterday, which was published this morning. And obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, and you want to see what that phone looks like, go check out the video, subscribe to the channel, like the videos, all that good stuff. And more importantly, tell people about it. And tell people about the podcast. Mobiletechpodcast.com is where you'll find the podcast and you'll find the RSS feed there. We're also on iTunes and on Pocket Casts if you prefer looking for me there. Just search for Mobile Tech Podcast. And we'll be back next week with another guest and another conversation about mobile tech. Cars, phones, tablets, laptops, all that good stuff.
Glasses,
watches. Thanks so much for being on, Ashley. A pleasure to have you. It was a fun conversation. Come back.
Always a delight, Miriam. You know that. I absolutely love hanging out with you in any capacity I can.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you so much. All right, folks. Cheers.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.